The studio felt different the moment the audience filed in, like the air had thickened, charged with something unspoken. Even the crew moved faster, whispering in corners, peeking around curtains. Everyone knew today's lineup wasn't just another episode of The View. It was a collision of star power, ego, and two women who rarely, if ever, shared a stage. Meghan Markle arrived first, gliding on set with a polished grace that made the audience clap before she even spoke. She wore a crisp white blouse and a tailored skirt that screamed, effortlessly powerful, the kind of outfit meant to project calm authority. She smiled widely, but there was a flicker beneath it, anticipation, maybe defensiveness. She had been on enough talk shows to know when she was entering a battlefield disguised as a coffee table discussion. The producers ushered her to her seat, handing her a mug with her name on it. She held it like a prop, perfectly angled for the cameras. Then, 10 minutes later, the energy shifted again. Angelina Jolie stepped onto the set with no fanfare, no sweeping entrance, just a quiet presence that drew every eye instantly. Dressed in understated black, hair pulled back, she carried herself like someone who didn't need to prove a thing. She nodded politely at the audience, then at the hosts, settling into her chair with the ease of someone who had lived 1,000 lives and survived all of them. The contrast between the two women was impossible to miss. Meghan's polish, Angelina's natural command. One worked to be seen. The other couldn't help but be. Even Joy Behar leaned toward Sunny and whispered, "Oh, this is gonna be good." Whoopi shot her a warning look, but Joy only smirked. When the cameras rolled, the hosts offered their usual greetings, but the audience wasn't focused on them. Their eyes flicked from Meghan to Angelina, waiting, hoping, for a spark. Meghan struck first. "I think today is such an important moment," she said, voice smooth. "We have an opportunity to talk about how women in the spotlight can lift each other up instead of being torn down." Her words were warm, practiced, and delivered with an earnestness honed through 1,000 interviews. A few audience members clapped, not fully knowing what they were clapping for. Angelina listened with a polite half-smile, hands folded, shoulders relaxed. She had the expression of someone observing a speech she'd heard many times before. Meghan continued, growing more confident as she spoke. "I know from my own experience how devastating public criticism can be. And I think when we stand together, truly stand together, we can make the world better for women everywhere." The audience clapped again, this time louder. Meghan nodded as if absorbing applause she expected. She glanced toward Angelina, as though waiting for agreement. Whoopi turned toward Angelina next. "You've been on the front lines of advocacy, literally. What's your perspective on what Meghan just said?" Angelina took a breath before speaking, the kind of breath that signaled not hesitancy but precision. "I agree that women should support one another," she said softly. "But support has to come from authenticity, not from image." The sentence dropped like a stone into still water. The ripples were immediate. Meghan's eyebrows twitched upward, just slightly, but enough. Angelina continued, her tone gentle but impenetrable. "There's a difference between performing advocacy and doing advocacy." Joy muttered under her breath, barely concealed by her microphone. "Oh boy." Meghan placed her mug down a little too carefully. "Are you implying my advocacy is performative?" Angelina didn't blink. "I'm saying that in this industry, people often confuse visibility with impact. Real change doesn't require a spotlight." The audience went still, like a collective inhalation. Meghan turned her body toward Angelina fully, a defense posture hidden beneath composed poise. "With respect, I've worked with numerous organizations, even before my marriage. I've highlighted important issues, brought attention to stories that need to be heard. And talked about that work," Angelina replied, still calm, still devastatingly direct, far more than the work itself. The room erupted. A wave of gasps, whispers, a few stunned laughs. Joy slapped her thigh. "Well, damn." Whoopi shot her another look, but it was too late. The moment had broken open. Meghan blinked rapidly, once, twice, as if steadying herself. Her smile returned, but faintly, like it was taped on. "I've never claimed to be perfect," she said, her voice thinner now. "But I'm trying." "No one asked you to be perfect," Angelina said, leaning forward slightly, eyes warmer but still sharp. "Just genuine." There was no venom, no aggression, but the honesty was so raw, so complete, that it left no room for Meghan to maneuver. Meghan looked down briefly, adjusting the sleeve of her blouse, something to keep her hands busy. Her jaw twitched, another tell she wasn't able to hide. The audience was watching her now with a different kind of curiosity. Not admiration, not hostility, something in between, something assessing. Angelina sat back, giving Meghan space, but the power balance had shifted noticeably. She didn't have to push. The truth had already done the pushing for her. I think women should be allowed to speak openly about their experiences, Meghan retorted, voice firming again. Sharing your story can help others feel seen. Sharing your story is important, Angelina replied. But listening is more important. Especially when the people suffering don't have a platform. The moment the commercial break cut in, the studio erupted into movement, stage managers scrambling, makeup artists rushing forward, producers speaking into headsets with the tight, frantic energy of people trying to prevent a live television disaster from spiraling any further. But the center of the storm wasn't the crew. It was Meghan Markle, sitting perfectly still, shoulders tense, her eyes fixed on the table as if replaying every word Angelina Jolie had said. Angelina, meanwhile, remained calm, sipping water like someone who had just finished a gentle conversation over brunch. Her serenity only made Meghan feel more exposed, more rattled, more humiliated. Whoopi leaned in toward Meghan, lowering her voice. You good? Meghan mustered a tight smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, she said softly, though her knuckles whitened around her mug. I just didn't expect all that. Whoopi didn't say anything more. She had seen enough on this show to know when someone needed space. Beside her, Joy Behar was grinning like she'd just witnessed the best theater of her life. Phew, Joy muttered, fanning herself dramatically. And I thought my ex-husband was confrontational. Sunny shot her a warning look. Sarah mouthed the word, Joy, across the table, but Joy only shrugged. What? I'm just saying. Angelina caught the exchange out of the corner of her eye and offered a small, diplomatic smile to Sunny, as if silently apologizing for igniting the fuse Joy was now happily feeding. The floor manager raised 3 fingers, signaling how much time was left before they were live again. Meghan straightened her posture. Her breathing steadied. She slipped into the persona she wore like armor, the poised duchess, the woman who remained unshaken, no matter the storm. But inside, the humiliation was simmering. She could feel the audience watching her differently. She could sense the shift. She could hear the whispers. Angelina kind of owned her. Did you see Meghan's face? She didn't know how to respond. Her skin prickled under the phantom weight of their judgment, and she hated it, hated that she could feel it at all. When the countdown hit 1, the music faded, and the show came back live, the audience clapped, though not as loudly as before. The tension was still fresh, unprocessed, like a wound reopened too soon. Whoopi, always the steady anchor, jumped in. Okay, we're back, and clearly emotions are high, but that means it's an important conversation. So let's keep it going. Meghan inhaled slowly. She had a chance now, her moment to regain control. I think what's getting lost, she began, her tone soft but purposeful, is that we all come from different backgrounds. I've been vulnerable. I've talked openly about my struggles because women everywhere need to know they're not alone. She glanced toward Angelina, expecting a nod, a concession, something to signal the rift was healing. But Angelina didn't nod. She didn't even look defensive. She looked thoughtful. I respect that, Angelina said gently. But vulnerability isn't the same as accountability. The air snapped like a wire stretched too tight. Meghan blinked, her expression tightening again. Accountability for what, exactly? Angelina chose her words with surgical precision. For acknowledging that your story shouldn't overshadow the stories you claim to elevate. The audience reacted instantly, soft murmurs rolling through the stands like a gust of wind. This wasn't a jab, it was a philosophy, a worldview, one Meghan wasn't prepared to debate live. Joy's eyes widened in delighted horror. Oh my God, she whispered, shaking her head. This is better than cable. Meghan tried to anchor herself. I'm not overshadowing anyone, she insisted. I've always tried to amplify voices. By leading with your own, Angelina said, still calm, unwavering, almost gentle. Sometimes stepping back is the most empowering thing we can do. It was the kind of line that journalists would quote, the kind social media would turn into a viral snippet. Meghan felt her throat tighten because she knew, this was the soundbite that would haunt her. Before Meghan could respond, Sunny intervened. Ladies, I think you're both talking about the same goal, just with different approaches. But the audience wasn't interested in mediation. They were glued to the tension between Meghan and Angelina, the two women who had mastered public image now inadvertently exposing cracks in real time. Meghan forced a smile, but the edges were brittle. I think it's unfair to suggest I'm somehow doing advocacy wrong. Angelina held up a hand, not to silence her, but to soften the blow. There's no wrong, but there is learning, and I'm always learning. We all should be. The humility in her voice made Meghan's confidence crumble even harder. Because Angelina wasn't attacking her. She wasn't grandstanding. She was simply telling the truth.